It's a case that defies belief and goes against every principle of parenthood. An Australian man and his partner purchased a baby boy in Russia in 2005, presenting themselves as a devoted pair of gay fathers. In reality, behind closed doors, they were sexually abusing the boy and allowing others to do the same from when he was less than 2 years old. On the weekend, Australian citizen Mark Newton was sentenced in the US to 40 years in prison. His partner, Peter Trong, is awaiting his sentence. Cara Meldrum-Hanna has this report and a warning: this story contains disturbing and explicit sexual references.
Testing, this is Ginger from ABC Far North.
It was June 2010. ABC local radio presenter Ginger Gorman was setting out to meet an interesting family at Trinity Beach in Far North Queensland.
I was putting together a series of interviews on gender. This particular interview was with a couple who were gay dads, and they had been on a long journey to have a child via surrogacy.
On all appearances, American man Mark Newton and his Australian partner Peter Trong were a proud couple, pictured here posing with their adopted son, who we will call Boy One. These are the sounds Ginger Gorman recorded that day, playing with the boy and his pet baby chickens in the backyard.
Have you fed them this morning?
No.
Oh, here's one.
One's harder to get.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you know what this chicken's name is?
No, I haven't figured out the name.
I don't think he's named him yet.
I'm gonna call them, Chick Dasty.
I felt no sense that anything was wrong. For all intents and purposes, this appeared to be a loving family and a loving household. And I've gone over and over it in my brain, and I just did not feel that anything was wrong.
Mark Newton and Peter Trong were masters of deception, starting with finding a surrogate mother abroad.
I gave up my career and my job and went to Russia to oversee the process. So we're very dedicated to making this work. Our budget was anything that we earned, anything that we had saved, and anything that we could borrow to make this happen.
And why was it your sperm that was used, not Pete's, Mark?
Flip of the coin, I think. We'd gone back and forth several times.
This was the first of many lies told by Newton and Trong, whose depraved secret life was uncovered a year and a half later, when in February 2012 the men were arrested in California, charged with producing and sharing child pornography and extreme acts of sexual exploitation.
I'm profoundly shocked and disgusted by what's happened. Since then, I just am revolted, and I find myself quite despairing about the turn of events.
You know, the purchase of a child, to bring the child into your life for the explicit and sole purpose of exploiting him across a network of men is incredibly depraved and a very, very sad tale for that little boy.
The sad story of Boy One's life begins here in Russia. According to US court documents, in July 2005, his mother sold him to Newton and Trong for $8,000. His birth papers were falsified to list Newton as his biological father, paving the way for Boy One to be adopted and brought to Queensland. 6 years would pass until August 2011, when a chance discovery was made here in Wellington, New Zealand, by John Peacock, a senior internal affairs investigator.
During the investigation of a Wellington man, the forensic analysis of his machine identified a series of images of Boy One. He was shirtless, and they were quite contrived, staged photos, if you like, that just, as I said, didn't sit right in terms of standard family holiday type snapshots.
Peacock sent the images to police attached to Task Force Argos in Brisbane, the specialised branch responsible for investigating online child exploitation and abuse.
Our reaction was exactly what John's was, and that was what sparked the investigation.
The images were the tip of the iceberg. Police discovered chat logs between Trong, Newton and the New Zealand man. where they bragged about having sex with their son, Boy 1, since he was little, and had given him to several other men around the world for sex, including 2 men based in Indianapolis in the US, who are being investigated by police.
When he was about 5 years of age, the conspiracy was joined, we allege, by Mr. Powell, who was an attorney in Florida in the United States, and Mr. Betta, who was a tennis coach in Illinois in the United States. They got involved with Boy 1, we allege, when he was about 4 to 5 years of age.
The 4 men form part of a network known broadly as the Boy Lovers Network. Men who believe that the sexual abuse and rape of boys from as young as 2 years old to 10 years old is a form of consensual love between man and boy. At its height, this chat board, boylover.net, had 70,000 members worldwide. In 2009, boylover.net was smashed in a series of global raids, with several Australian men arrested.
670 suspects have been identified. 184 arrests have already been made, and 230 children, as victims of these terrible crimes, have been identified and rescued from further harm.
They are intrinsically networked. They have a very strict code of communication between themselves, and certainly as this case highlighted, their level of cooperation is usually very, very low.
When Task Force Argos raided Trong and Newton's Cairns home in October 2011, a mountain of material was discovered on encrypted hard drives and computer networks. It was handed over to US prosecutors.
It took me personally 1 solid week working 10-hour days to get through all of the child pornography that was just the videos filmed in Australia, in France, and in different places across the United States.
One video showed Boy 1 performing sex acts on Newton with a disturbing level of sophistication when he wasn't even 2 years old. When the boy turned 5, in 1 month alone, Newton videoed himself engaging in sexual activity with Boy 1 on more than a dozen different occasions.
One way they controlled and manipulated this child was to appear to the outside world as a good parent. And one of the things they did was they trained this child how to answer questions from potential investigators.
US authorities have found videos involving 2 more boys at Trong and Newton's Cairns home.
I can't say too much about the identity of that child. I can say that the victimization of Boy 2 occurred in Australia. We can confirm that this conspiracy we allege involving Boy 1, Boy 2 and others was international in scope.
The authorities are now determined to track down every man who abused Boy 1.
With this network, just be rest assured that we will pursue them to the ends of the earth to make sure each and every one of them faces justice for what their role has been in crimes against this child.
Kara Meldrum Hanna reporting.